Now, there's nothing peaceful about the debate that's followed the surprise awarding of the Nobel Peace Prize to Barack Obama. The US president's political opponents are ridiculing the decision and questioning the motives of the Norwegian Nobel Prize panel.
Critics are taking great pains to point out that nominations for the award closed just a dozen or so days after Obama was sworn in. Their point is just what achievements are being recognised. Professor Jeffrey Garrett is the Chief Executive of the United States Study Centre and he joins us now from Sydney. Professor, thank you very much for joining us on the program.
Oh, you're most welcome. Good morning.
Why do you believe that President Obama has received this prize? Is it just symbolism?
Well, symbolism is really important. Obviously, President Obama has changed maybe 180 degrees the perception of the United States in the world. He has sky-high opinion poll ratings outside the country. The problem for the president is that domestically he finds it so much harder to get things done. And on the back of your last interview, I'd just say that if Australians are looking to the US to come to Copenhagen, for example, with a completed climate change deal, I think that's unlikely to be realised. The president is just having great difficulties getting things done at home.
So what you're saying is, as much as this might give him some cachet on the world stage, is there's no guarantee that it's actually going to help his presidency?
It's not clear at all that it's going to help his presidency because a lot of the big decisions facing the president are really about the United States. So domestically we have climate change, but before that healthcare, and then maybe after those two financial reform. On the international stage, the big issue at the moment for the US is whether it should send more troops or take troops out of Afghanistan. Certainly it would help to have international community support, but I think most of the attention at the moment is squarely focused on what's happening inside the US, not outside.
On that, we've just seen a very big statement from the President saying that he wants to push through the policy of dropping, for instance, the don't ask, don't tell policy with gays and lesbians in the military. That's before he's even convinced his military advisors and the military itself. Is this an example of where the President is having to step up to the hopes that have carried through with him from the election?
Yeah, there are a lot of examples like that. I think another one is his very early decision to say he wanted to close the Guantanamo Bay detention facility, and then when it comes to the practicalities of doing that, he finds it much tougher. On the military, I'd say the interesting thing about this one today is that there's really been a bit of an open revolt by the military against the president on the tough issue of Afghanistan, where General McChrystal, the lead general in the Afghanistan war at the moment, has leaked a document recommending more than 40,000 additional American troops in the war, and the president has said he's just not sure that he can accept that recommendation. It puts him in a very difficult position, I think, against his military leadership, with a country still involved in two wars. Remember, Afghanistan is there, but Iraq still has more than 100,000 American troops on the ground.
Going back to the Nobel Peace Prize for a moment, of course there have been political overtones to this award before. In 1973, Henry Kissinger famously and his Vietnamese counterpart were awarded one for their efforts to end the Vietnam War, and in 1989 the Dalai Lama as well in the wake of Tiananmen Square. Is this an indication that the Nobel Prize is actually taking a fair hit again to its credibility? Is it becoming politicised?
Well, it probably always has been politicised. I think on the global stage this award would be very well commended, because really the world looked to President Obama to change the tone and the outlook of America's engagement in the world, and I think he's done that. What hard-nosed critics at home in the United States ask is, well, he's changed the tone. That was supposed to buy more support for not only from America's allies but also from some of its enemies, and the critics say we haven't seen that increase in support. He just hasn't been able to get any of the really tough things done on the international stage that he'd hoped for and that he signalled in his campaign last year.
There is already so many expectations on the President and now this Nobel Peace Prize. In your opinion, has there ever been this much pressure on an American presidency this early?
I don't think so, because on top of everything we've talked about thus far, radical change to healthcare in the US, emissions trading, financial reform, and the fighting of two wars, and the problems in Pakistan and Iran, we have the global financial crisis, and American unemployment is looking at a 10% level that'll probably stick around for more than a year. That's the highest unemployment in the US in more than 25 years. You put all that together, the pressure on the president is just incredible.
Professor Jeffrey Garrett, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
You're most welcome. Thank you.